Welcome to Millennial Pagan Podcast. I'm your host, Autumn Wolf.
And I'm Jera Stone. And in virtual studio today, we have with us Kharma.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys?
Doing good. I can't complain. I mean, I could. It just wouldn't do me any good, right?
You tested negative for COVID recently, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got 2 tests within the last week or so, and I got negative. So that's a good sign. I'm actually scheduling myself to do at least one more, just to make sure I'm out of the hot zone at least.
Right. And how's Sunshine feeling?
She's doing good. She barely got any symptoms. There was like one day where she was in bed all day, but other than that, she came back like a power horse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My smeller's starting to work.
Yay.
Otherwise, that's about it.
Good.
For me. Yep. All right. So we asked Kharma to teach us a little bit about something I know very little about and Jera knows nothing about. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I know there's more to it than just crystals, but crystal gridding.
Yes.
But before we go into that topic, we get to ask Kharma to share her coming of witch story.
My coming of witch story. It's interesting because I'm not sure that I ever had like a aha moment of coming of witch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just something I always knew that I was. Kind of a boring coming of witch story. But
So when would you say that you started practicing heavily and it became kind of like your life? Because right now you own a shop, you do so much. You're obviously just finishing up teaching a class.
yes. And thank you for your patience on that for our virtual meet because I'm running a little late from the class.
That's all right.
They all say hello, by the way. They're very excited about the podcast. They'd like a link.
Hey.
But yeah, as far as back as I can remember, I really talked to rocks, and that's been my jam. My mom, I'll tell you the story. My mom bought me this little turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And the turtle had a little terrarium and it had some rocks and it had some plants and it had a little pond thing in it, just a little tiny thing. And eventually the turtle died because those little tiny turtles don't live very long. And I kept the terrarium. And every time I was out on a hike or a walk, I was the kid coming back with the jeans falling off because I had pockets full of rocks. And growing up here in Arizona, it's everything from agate to quartz to amethyst. I mean, there's all kinds of crystals that form here in Arizona. And my folks like to travel. They like to camp. So I was always bringing back random rocks from places. And we schlepped that turtle tank for probably 10 years every time we moved. And it was full of rocks.
Wow.
And the thought of getting rid of any one of them made me so sad, and they ended up going into my garden in my house as I grew up. And rocks have always been just something I understood. I talked to. And so that, I guess, is my very first coming out story is just rocks. Really being in tune with Mama Gaia, with the earth. Earth magic has been really the staple and basis of my practice.
Wow.
What's your astrological sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, okay. Because that's a fire sign. I was curious. I had to figure that one out.
It's actually a water sign.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
See, everyone thinks I'm a water sign and I'm an air. They're like, Aquarius should be watered. No, it's not. So that makes sense. So rocks were your first step, and which is great that we're talking about crystals with somebody who is so well connected to them. What would you consider like your practice now if you had to describe it to somebody?
Oh, my practice now is very earth-based still. Mm-hmm. I have taken a couple of different apprenticeships. I was taken under the wing actually when I was quite young. I was still in my teens by a practicing witch who practiced Eastern European witchcraft. And so I learned the very by the book, basics of witchcraft in my teens. And I've had various teachers as I've gotten older, some from the Eastern tradition. And most recently, I've studied shamanism. And that really resonated. All of the witchcraft paths that were, more Eastern based were, I guess I was just a little raw, or I guess uncivilized, I guess is the best word for it. I didn't ascribe to so many of the rules and the traditions. And I remember telling someone once, I said, if I want to go to church, there's a bunch of different ones. Church doesn't sit right with me. Mm-hmm. So I ended up in Peru last year and had been practicing different shamanist type practices. But it wasn't until I entered the jungle of Peru that I really went, whoa, here's Gaia right here, standing there in the lungs of the earth. And it really rocked my world, and my practice has never been the same. I use drums often and every chance I get, all kinds of different sound and vibration, but mostly it's that really earth-based practice. And I definitely got a whole different perspective of being connected to the earth, connected to Gaia, connected into the actual rocks and stones and roots of our planet. And that has really been the basis of my practice.
Awesome. So drumming is a major part. Do you do that like a daily practice, or do you have a daily practice?
I do. My daily practice does include drumming. So when clearing my energy, clearing the energy of my space, clearing the energy of my store, anytime that I go into any kind of class beforehand, I set the energetic architecture, and, where I used to smudge, now I drum, using that vibration, that, just super earthy vibration to clear the energy of the space. And to clear rocks. Also, when new rocks come in, I use the drum to clear them. We use, smudge or sage. But it's definitely become a huge practice for me, and it's become a huge thing for the community. So I do drum circles, and I know everyone rolls their eyes and they go, oh yeah, just drum circles. Okay, hippy dippy thing. But no, seriously, shamanic drumming is no joke, you guys. It is literally like something that will, it'll rock your world. The shamanic drum journeys and that kind of thing. You talk about moving that energy. So we use drumming in everything from shamanic yoga. I have a yoga instructor who will put you in yoga postures, and then we come through and we drum up your body from the root up to move that stagnant energy. And drumming as a practice as kind of an alternative to Reiki. That's something I learned when I was there in the jungle, is drumming or smoke to move energy, as opposed to Reiki practice or, any kind of pendulum work. Although I do still love my crystal pendulums.
That's mine too. That's my divination. It's very much the crystal pendulum.
No, it's a big thing. Like, especially for me, like I've always been attuned to sound, to noise, to use for cleansing, and also for healing too. A lot of healing energy comes from sound work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And we're all accustomed to crystal bowls. We're all accustomed to more of the Eastern traditions. But drumming, there's something about it. I mean, our very first sound we ever hear in utero, in our mother's womb, is the sound of her heartbeat. Mm-hmm. If there's nothing else in our world that can ground us, just putting your hand over your heart and feeling your heartbeat, the worst moments of your life, that can really be transformational. And so, it's the drum circles that we host are really, really transformational for people. Sometimes it's the first time they've ever connected really to themselves or to others. And probably every single drum circle, somebody comments on that, like, oh my gosh. And I work also in the recovery population too. And some of the people in recovery have really actually said to me, hey, Kharma, I don't know how to say this, but like, I kind of feel high. But I haven't done anything, and so it's really getting that dopamine, that serotonin, all of our happy hormones moving in our body, really connecting into who we are.
Oh yeah. And like there's, at least in my opinion, there's nothing like raising energy and using the energy of sound waves to do just about anything. Like, it's probably one of the, at least in my opinion, one of the most underrated usages of sound.
Oh yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because almost every single culture has a drum, and you don't even need an actual instrument to drum. You can just drum on your legs, or you can use your feet. I mean, think about historically the most powerful music that we know. It's simple as.
Oh yeah. I got a built-in drum from years and years of table drumming. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And you don't have to be a witch. That sound automatically throughout the whole world. Everyone knows Queen, Freddie, that song.
Mm-hmm.
You just start that rhythm. And that's a connection. That's how our human brains are wired.
Exactly. And we're wired for connection. We really are. And that's why things like the crystal grids appeal to me. Not only do I speak rock, but you put the rocks together for them to speak. Then you add an element like drumming. You can drum over your crystal grid. It is so powerful, you guys. When you do a crystal grid for an intent in the center of your room and you bring people together to drum around it. Holy cow.
Yeah, the last piece of magic I did, I don't do a whole lot of instruments, but I used a song that connected to what I was trying to do. And it wasn't exactly perfect, but it, like, as far as the song was written goes, but because I'm such a vocal person, I was able to get that space. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, the power of music magic. We should probably do that as an episode someday.
I think so. I think that would actually be a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's so funny, too, when people say, oh, I'm not musical. I can't drum. Oh, are you kidding me? You don't have to be musical to drum. Right. Drumming is drumming. Drumming is noise. Drumming is vibration. It's sound. It's movement. It's not music. Right. Now, you make music from it, but it's not in and of itself music. I think it puts a lot of pressure on people when you say, oh, we're going to make music today. What? Nobody wants to pick up a drum. But you say, hey, we're going to make noise. And they're like, heck yeah.
Right. And you don't have to have rhythm to be able to drum in a group, because it's again, one of those parts of the human brain that we're wired to. It's our animal social connection. You'll get it eventually.
Oh yeah.
All you need is one person holding a steady beat, and everyone can just come in like adding spice to a salsa or a chili. And it's just, before you know it, everyone's making music. And that magical moment when you take a bunch of people who've never drummed before in their life, and they start out really super scared, and then you hold a steady beat for them, and they start peppering it in. They start to lose themselves, at the same time find themselves and connect in. And all of a sudden, it's almost like everyone in the room realizes at the same time, oh my God, this sounds like music. And they all open their eyes at the same time, and everyone looks around with these great big smiles. And they're like, holy cow, we're making music. And it's really powerful. Like, people will cry. People will be so connected to each other. And this is really, really, really impactful in working with recovery groups. You can bring this whole group of people together who don't even know each other. And by the end, like, they're brothers and sisters. It's so cool.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of being in drum circles is you can get the quietest girl in the drum circle, and she will start howling and hooting with the rest of us. And it's like, it's that opening when we're in drum circle, that it's that safety where we could start being those wild women.
Well, and you know, if you think about it though, when you're drumming, you're opening that lower part of your throat chakra. You know, it's coming through the sacral, it's coming through the feely feels of your solar plexus, and you're using that lower part of your throat chakra, where for a lot of women, especially really quiet, reserved ones, wow, I mean, putting voice to something is so scary. But then you use open that lower part of the throat chakra and send it out your hands instead. Holy cow, it's so freeing. And the next thing you know, boom, there goes the throat chakra open. And like, all it takes is one person to let out a howl, and everybody's howling.
Oh, yeah.
Just like in Zootopia, don't start a howl. Always start the howl.
Yes.
This wolf says always start the howl.
Oh, yeah.
I think we just found another shirt idea there. Start the howl.
Always start the howl.
Always start the howl.
I'm in for it.
Yeah. We're going to need a pretty big shop.
I know, right?
So, we mentioned Mother Gaia. What are some of your other deities that you connect with?
So I strongly align with Hecate, or Hecata. That's how she actually pronounces it for me. So I know it's not necessarily the mainstream pronunciation of Hecate, but that would be my goddess I align with the most. I did meet Nyx. That's an interesting story. I was on a journey to see my son, and in Kentucky, just looking at different things that we could do in Kentucky to connect as a family. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. He's in the military, and I went to visit. And we ended up in Mammoth Cave, and it was so odd because I walked in the cave and I just had that sense of deja vu, like I've been here before. And probably maybe 20 minutes into this tour, I'm lagging behind because, of course, I'm looking at every rock that's there, all this data, everything that's down there. And I started to hear this like kind of soft chuckle, like the whisper of leaves. And I'm kind of looking around and I'm just like, what am I hearing? And I come around a corner and this rock face, it was probably 100 feet tall. I could see the face of someone. And I just thought, whoa, this is like 100-foot tall face. I'm seeing like the profile of this woman. And then I heard the laugh again. And I was like, holy hell, something big is going to happen. And I met Nyx. And I had no idea in the tour. It was very strange because, my son was the one in charge. But we ended up on the River Styx tour, and I didn't know it. And here we are down, I think it was like 436 feet below the earth. And we were on the tour that goes all the way down to this underground river that is the strangest, most fluorescent green thing I've ever seen in my life. And right then and there, like they had us cut the lights, and it's just, it's a tour. They had us cut the lights and we spent 60 seconds in the dark. And it was the longest 60 seconds of my life because I met Nyx. And she's been a part of my practice ever since too.
I actually just looked up because I haven't really followed too much of Nyx, and I just was reading a little bit of what who she is. And yeah, I could definitely see her being in a cave, definitely underground in the darkest of dark.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and share for our.
Yeah. So what I'm showing is Nyx is the Greek goddess or personification of night, a shadowy figure. Nyx stood at or near the beginning of creation and mothered other personified deities such as Hypnos, sleep, and Thanatos, death, and Urbus, darkness.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely I don't know if I've met her before, but she does sound very familiar because I actually had kind of an experience close to what you're saying. Actually, it was ironically on a church camp outing where we went. We were actually down in the Sierra Vista Bisbee area, and we went down into a cave and way deep down, and it was just this big. I always called it a cathedral just because it's such a big cavern with all these stalactites, stalagmites all over the place. And then we shut off the lights and it was just complete darkness. And I could feel and see things moving around in there. And one of the things I remember seeing was the face of a woman just smiling. So yeah, that kind of... kind of really spoke to me there.
Connects to you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, and it's also funny that you mentioned Hecate as well, because she's one of mine as well. I actually just got a bunch of resin moldings to actually do her wheel. So I've actually been working on that.
Well, if you guys promise not to laugh, I'll show you since we're zooming. I got this on a trip
Yay.
that I was on when I went to the cave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was definitely like I said, a defining moment. And it was the day after I went to the caves that I got that tattoo.
And he has Hecate's sigil on his back. I will eventually have a Hecate on my arm, but I'm taking a break from big pieces for a while. I'm not even finished with the arm that I started when we met at camp. Not even done. 2 years.
Wow.
No judgment.
It's taking forever. But have either of you finished Sabrina?
I'm getting there.
the whole last season, the coven is a coven of Hecate. And just to me, I feel very seen, to be honest, to be watching a show where people are worshiping the same person I'm worshiping. You don't get that when it's like real legit, like talking about your goddess and having prayers to your goddess on TV. It's rare for anybody, I'm sure, listening. Like it's not the norm. So to have that and be able to see that is just like, and there's the ritual at the very end, at the very last episode, that I'll try not to spoil too much, but I can't find it online because the first ritual that Zelda does to Hecate is everywhere, because it was just that empowering, where it was like, because she's calling a goddess and you don't know what goddess, and then she says Hecate and I'm like, like the shivers, like, oh my goodness, yes, Mother of Keys, get her.
Yes.
So it was just, it was one of those moments of it's Hecate's time.
I think, honestly, in the past couple of years, she's really been making, I don't want to say a comeback because she's always been here, but I feel like she's been making her presence more and more known.
I think we go through rotations, because I feel like right before I got heavily back into the practice, everybody was into Morgana. And it was a time of a lot of strife and war. And now we're, as far as like a world, we're going from a dark area and we're needing guidance, and we're asking for that guidance from our government, and we're not really getting it. And so she's showing up and she's like, I got the keys to the door that you guys want, and I have the lantern. I know the path. Follow me.
Big time. And you know what better goddess to navigate us during the time of COVID? Right. I mean, we have this thing that has thrown the entire world into shadow work. What have we had time to do? How have we been able to distract ourselves from actually doing the work on the inside? We haven't.
No.
And so the entire world has been thrown into shadow. And what a better goddess to lead us from that than the one who bears the torch and has the keys. I mean, of course, her energy is strong on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with her animals, including a bat.
Yes. Lappy sky puppies.
Yappy sky puppies. Yes. As long as nobody blames bats for the virus.
No.
No murdering bats. Anyway.
Well, one thing I was going to say, because I kind of want to bring it back to speaking to rocks, because something's been just like pounding inside of my head, and I'm like, I need to say this. It's going to sound weird. But so one thing that I've always wondered, and because I've never really had that deep of a connection with the actual with rocks or anything like that, at least as far as my practice is right now. One thing that I've always wanted to know is sculpting rocks. Is it something that they that they appreciate, that they like, that they want or call for? If there's there's a rock that you pick up and it's just calling to be shaped into something specific. Like, what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Some rocks like to be shaped. Some rocks don't like to be shaped. It does impact their energy, and I feel like using rocks that are sculpted, I don't want to say it's not as effective, but you're not getting the true pure energy. You're also getting the energy of the hands that did the sculpting. There are a lot of rocks you get like out of China, people who buy off of Wish, not hating on that, but just understand that has definitely picked up the imprint of the mass-produced, commercialized kind of a thing. And so some of those are not quite so happy. They're a little bewildered as to what just happened. Some of them literally, if you order something off of Wish, I'll have clients come in and go, hey, I'm trying to grid with the stone and it just doesn't seem to be, working right. Like, what's going on? And you literally hold that stone in your left hand and the stone is like, what the, just happened. And so, I don't necessarily know that it's the sculpting process that has done that. I think it's really the mass produced process. And I don't know that it's necessarily, some rocks love it. Like if you pick up a selenite that is sculpted into a spiral, for example, they love to be that center focal point of your grid. And selenite is, directional. So if it's sculpted in the same direction as the directional of the selenite, and it's literally pointing straight up but spiraling, that stone's like, heck yeah, let me move that energy. And then other times, having something that it's in its raw form is way more effective. So like take quartz, for example. You can get a point of quartz and then it's shaped into a point. It's not going to be nearly as impactful as a quartz that grew in that point. Yes, Autumn, exactly. It looks like a unicorn horn.
I got this from you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Those love to work that way. Selenite is one of those that loves to be in any shape, form, or fashion as long as it has a job. Quartz, on the other hand, if you're looking to use a quartz crystal for healing or to use in the center point of your grid, or you're going to use it in any fashion, you want to really make sure that that's a natural piece of quartz. And unfortunately, a lot of things are passed off that aren't. They may have been a big chunk of quartz that someone has shaped and polished, but it's not the same thing as if you get a piece of Lemurian quartz, for example, a point right out of the ground. It's got the record keepers on the sides. It's literally holding all the information of the entirety of that rock's formation. Those are something completely different.
My most powerful wand is a piece of quartz I picked up from my backyard because I'm from Georgia. So all that's in the clay is quartz. So I have I never even realized it was my most powerful wand until very recently, but I've had this piece of quartz. It is shaped like a point. It's maybe as long as my index finger, and it's sitting on my altar right now because I just changed it out from my birthday altar full of rose quartz, quartz, and amethyst.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I agree 100% with almost everything that you said. Some stones will ask for it and it's like, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to be. And other stones are like, leave me in the raw, leave me how I am.
Malachite's another one that likes to be sculpted and shaped. But it likes to have a job. And so you can't carry around a malachite that's the size of your hand, But you can sure shape it into a disc, put it on a cord and wear it.
Nice. Thank you for that. That's something that I've kind of wondered in the past, but it's like, it's one of those I've never had the ability or the knowledge to be able to discern it. So yeah, thank you for that. I like that.
Yeah. I just went to a rock shop with my coworker, not the one you're currently at, but we'll get to that. And literally, I was walking with her, like talking because she's working on some stuff of her own and telling her what stones meant what and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you keep touching this black thing. Everywhere we go, you keep touching the black one. What's the black one? And I'm like, it's hematite. I'm like, we just got off of work. You just drove me to a mall. You alone are energy times a million. And I'm like, this is what this does. And she's like, you keep touching hematite. And like, literally, we're sitting in line. There's a ball of hematite in my hand. I'm rolling it around. She's like, would you just buy some hematite, please? I'm like, I got earrings right here. Calm down.
Is your friend a Gemini?
No, she is a triple Aquarius.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
She is a handful. Has a triple air sign as well. She is, but I'm all three air signs. So let's take a short minute break. I'm going to go get some water and we will be right back to actually talk about crystal gridding.
Sounds great.
Millennial Pagan Podcast is exclusively supported by Patreon. Listeners like you can gain great benefits from your favorite show, such as...
At $1 a month, you get a personalized shout out at the end of the next full-length episode.
At $5 a month, you receive a thank you card in the mail with Millennial Pagan Podcast button and sticker enclosed. Additionally, $5 a month supporters have access to our monthly 30-minute minisodes.
Patreon supporters are also the first to learn about new and exciting updates to Millennial Pagan Podcast.
More benefits and exclusive content to come.
All right, and we are back, and I think we need to get into a little bit more rock talk.
Rock talk.
Rock talk.
Rockin'.
I like the way that sounds. Rock talk.
Rock talk. I'm going to steal that.
Go right ahead. That definitely be the name of like a new class.
Mm-hmm.
Like an introduction to rocks.
Yep. You could do a whole like mini pod on it.
Heck yeah.
Like 5 or 6 episodes. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So what would you say is like, if somebody said, I know nothing about crystal gridding, like we just did, how would you define it?
So crystal gridding is taking rocks, using their energy in symbiosis along with the geometry that you place them, and manifesting what it is that you would like to have. So manifesting intent. I use crystal grids for several ways. First and foremost, if someone shows me their crystal grid, it's actually a form of divination. Like I'll challenge people to say, oh, I made this awesome crystal grid. It's for, and I'll go, stop, hold on, show me a picture. And they will, and I'll say, oh, and then I can tell them what they manifested for, because your crystal grid you can actually use as divination. I use this in class a lot. When I teach the class on how to use crystals for divination, I'll turn all those little cards around on those rock trays and tell people, here's your basket, go choose 6 or 7 different crystals. Create a grid with your intuition. Use your intuition. Which rocks speak to you? Which rocks call to you? Hold them in your left hand. If you're not sure, just run your left hand over the top of the rocks. Which ones are calling to you? And then ask those rocks, how many need to be there? And then I'll encourage people to come back. If they know absolutely nothing, I'll leave them with an empty table and say, arrange them in a way that feels right. Then we can come back, and I actually will say, okay, now slide over. We're going to do the class, and we're going to talk about what these rocks are, what they do. Then we come back and we look at the grid itself that they did at the beginning of class and go, okay, that's what these rocks do now. And is that supportive of what you were hoping to manifest in your world right now? And almost without fail, the answer is yes. Sometimes it's a manifestation that is even deeper than what they think they need. So sometimes I've had someone go, oh, I think I need money. I want to manifest abundance and prosperity. And then their grid comes out that it's really supportive of their own personal growth and development, which if they do, they're going to manifest the money they need. So it's really interesting. You can actually use that as your own divination. If you have access to a crystal shop that will let you just come play with rocks, like at my store or over at Everything Just Rocks, like you can play with the rocks, set up a crystal grid and ask it what it has to tell you, because you're literally choosing with your intuition or your unconscious mind or soul or spirit or heart, however you want to look at it, and let those rocks tell you what they want to tell you. Pull the rocks that feel right, arrange them in a pattern, and then go look at what those rocks do. Mm-hmm. Let them tell you. So you can use them for divination. I think it's really cool. I love the look on people's faces when they go, oh my God, And then you can also use them for manifesting. Mm-hmm. So choosing rocks that are supportive of your purpose, using sacred geometry. You can use a grid board. You can use a paper printout of a sacred geometric pattern. And using it all in alignment together is super powerful. Super powerful.
And you can use other things than just stones and rocks in your actual grid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So if you were to ask me if I had to choose a witch type, I'm definitely a hedge witch. So in my crystal grids, you'll also find things like rose hips or different herbs that are supportive of the same intent.
Mm-hmm. Is there a certain type of how do you figure out what kind of sacred geometry or shape is going to work best?
So again, it's based on your intent. Now, there is this element of intuition that goes along with that. So if you're drawn to a specific, say, tree of life, seed of life, flower of life, or like a Merkaba, you're definitely drawn to it for a reason. So take a peek at what it means. So if you're looking to integrate things into your life, you're going to choose a Merkaba. You're going to choose, you could also, if you're trying to really get a lot of angelic realms behind you, you would choose something like a Metatron's cube. If you're looking to enhance or grow, maybe a flower of life would be a good choice. So knowing your sacred geometric patterns is really kind of fundamental. Now, you can also do crystal grids without any kind of sacred geometry base. You can literally do them based on numerology. So if you're looking at what it is that you would like to, like, maybe make a fundamental change on, you would want to use the numerological numbers with those stones and create a pattern from them. Now, the commonality to it is you always want to work from the inside out, not the outside in. If you're looking to manifest, you would choose a manifestor crystal. That's usually somewhere in the quartz family, and you can get as in-depth as how many sides does it have on it, and you can get all the way down to the actual crystal, what actual size and number of shape is in the crystal itself. So I'm not going to bore you with that and use words like dodecahedron or anything like that, but you want to use, simply put, a manifestor crystal in the center if you're manifesting. You want to use an attractor crystal if you're trying to attract. If you're looking to protect your home, you're going to use a completely different stone in the center. You're going to be either drawing or repelling with that grid. So you can imagine that, knowing the stones is an important factor of that. But let's say you're looking to manifest something, and right now everybody's looking to manifest love, right? Mm-hmm. We're getting ready to go to Stupid Cupid Day. Everybody wants to manifest their true love. And some of us do that with candle spells. Mine worked beautifully, by the way. Or we can use, manifesting jars, mojo jars. There's a lot of ways. Just taught a class on witch's ladders, how to manifest with a witch's ladder. But if you're looking to manifest with a crystal grid, you would probably choose something like a rose quartz for the center, because that is your manifestor crystal. Quartz is a manifestor crystal. Rose quartz is indicative of love. So you start with your center. What are you trying to manifest? So if you're trying to manifest love in any sort, rose quartz in the center, just kind of like anything else in life, front and center is the most important. You would want to surround it with something or some things that are supportive of that. So what kind of love would you like to attract? Are you looking at passionate love? Choose a stone that would align with that. Or maybe even boost it with a little hibiscus flower that would, maybe go in between the stones. You can add as many rose quartz to that as you want, but rose quartz, again, is general love. So you may end up with a whole lot of self-love. If you're looking for a relationship love, you would want to choose a relationship type stone. You could choose something like garnet or ruby for passion. You could choose a little bit of grounding with hematite. And you can definitely look at, okay, you have the center stone. Your second ring, you're going to look at what does it look like. So if what I'm trying to attract is love, my center stone is the amplifier or the manifestor of that. My next ring would be, what does it look like? So it's kind of like writing a spell, where you have to know what it is really that you're looking for. If you're looking for friendship, kind of love, it would be a very different stone. If you're looking for a romantic love, then now you're looking at more of a garnet or a ruby. So you would create a pattern around that manifestor crystal with what you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for love, but you're also looking at, I've kind of been burned by it before, and maybe I have some issues around it. What you might want to do is add some selenite in between to clear away any kind of blockages you might have to that attraction. Next ring, your third ring, you're looking at what stones would be supportive of your second ring. So if you're looking for passionate, amazing love that you're cleansing and clearing the energies from the old relationships, then what would you need next? I'll leave it to you guys to make that answer.
Mm-hmm. So you're thinking, well, you already said garnet would be a good one. I would probably add more rose quartz, just because rose quartz to me really connects with friendship, and I don't know any other friendship stones. I don't know, some clear quartz for clear-headedness.
Okay. And if you wanted to say, hey, this is going to be an adventuresome love. Mm-hmm. Or how about I'm kind of a little afraid of this. I need some personal support around it. You could choose a heart opener or indicative of the heart chakra with something like green aventurine, or even rubies with fuchsite. And so I hope you see a pattern here that you're using stones that are supportive of what you're looking to manifest. And you start out with the most important front and center, that middle stone, and you work out from there. So you have to actually, sit down. Like I would recommend anyone when they're thinking of doing a crystal grid for a specific purpose to sit down and say, what is it that I need here? Like, what are the elements? What are the attributes? If you're looking to attract something into your world, what would it look like? What do I need in order for that to come into my world? And then those are the stones that you choose accordingly.
Sounds like a crystal grid would be great for somebody who's not very linguist, doesn't like sitting down to write spells, but is more of a visual learner or a physical type person.
Absolutely. Definitely very hands-on. And especially if you intrinsically speak rock, it's absolutely amazing because there are no words needed.
I could definitely see also like just somebody who's very very intuitive can definitely just come in and just do something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the last element you want in your crystal grid is you always want it grounded. So the outer ridge or ring of that crystal grid, you want to make sure you have some grounding crystals. So hematite is my go-to. I'm a water sign, so hematite does not irritate me like it does some air signs. Some air signs hate hematite.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Galena is a really good one for those people that hematite irritate. Galena is a nice, calming, really grounded, but also gentle energy for grounding. That's actually would be my go-to for, something that is an attract true love spell kind of a thing in a crystal grid. It would be a Galena piece at each of the four. If you're doing it on a four-sided grid board, maybe on the four edges, you could use it all the way around. I also like to use selenite on the outside of them because what we're creating is that, like we talk about the cone of power, you're literally creating a directional circle around your grid so that you're directing that energy around the outside ring. You want to direct that energy toward the next inner ring, from that inner ring to the innermost ring, and from that innermost ring to your center crystal. And then what I do at the end of my crystal grid, when I stand up and I look at it and I go, okay, this feels right. This feels really good. I'll pull out my pendulum and I'll hang it right over the top of that center crystal. And I'll look and see what my pendulum says too, because I like to double check my work. And if the pendulum starts to give a nice, good circle around, then I will ground myself, couple big deep breaths, pull from Gaia, the same way as I would do any other spell. And using my pendulum, I will charge that grid. And so by charging the grid with my pendulum, now I'm amplifying and drawing that energy. I'm giving it its direction. I'm helping that energy flow, and I'm giving it, it's kind of like when you throw a stone into a pond and those ripples ripple out. That's what I'm doing with my energy then, with my pendulum. And so you really get that energy flowing, raising the energy, raising the energy, raising the energy, and then release it. And that grid will do its job. And you can leave your grid up for like a full moon cycle. A lot of people will come and they'll make their grid, they'll write a spell to go with it, slide their spell under their grid board, and that grid board stays by their bedside for the whole month. So you can actually incorporate grids into spells. You can incorporate grids into your drum circles. I love to do that. Make your grid in the center and then raise the energy with the drumming. Holy cow. Super, super spectacular.
Would you suggest leaving the grid until at least the magic is through, or is it okay to clear it right after you're done raising the magic and then bring it back down?
It really depends on the practitioner. I like to leave them up for a minimum of 7 days because I feel like, if I'm going to ask the universe to get nudged by this crystal grid, I got to give it a little time to work. Because it's going to continue to do its work as long as it's up. There are crystal grids that I do as defenses on the property. So those crystal grids are created, they're buried in the ground, and they just stay there. There's no changing it. As long as I'm in that place, and as long as I'm, if I'm the property owner and I don't want people to come onto the property, I want it to be protected, I'll bury a grid in the ground.
Nice. So yeah, I'm just kind of reeling back a little bit because I'm a Gemini. I'm air sign, and when you said that hematite, the hematite doesn't mesh well, I'm like, okay, that explains a lot because I love the way that hematite looks. I love seeing it, but it's never really meshed with me. Wow. Okay. Learning stuff. Gotta love that.
It's a little too grounding for the air signs typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because honestly, because it feels like it's not just, it doesn't just ground, it drains.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
I have an opposite reaction with hematite. I wore rainbow hematite to my best friend's wedding because I know that she can get up to here if she's stressed, and I can easily pick up on other people's emotions and follow through. Or if I was wearing the hematite and I realized it was exactly the way I wanted it to, I would be grounded and easier to ground her. And at one point, I could tell that she was getting overwhelmed, and there was all the women in the room helping her get dressed. And I was like, put your hands on mine. We took 2 to 3 big breaths, and then she was able to communicate what she needed a whole hell of a lot more. And I was like, this is exactly why I wore the hematite, so I could be that one to be there and do that. And because as far as I'm concerned, that's the job of the maid of honor. So that was like, all right, I need to be able to give myself the tools to do the job that I believe I'm supposed to be doing. So I have the exact opposite.
It's funny because I've noticed that Gemini is actually the one sign that hematite irritates the most.
Oh.
That's why I asked earlier if your friend was a Gemini, because it's stone that Geminis are going to notice, and they're going to notice the energy of without even touching. And it does. For some reason, it just, every Gemini I know is irritated by hematite, but Galena is a good choice. And also, Autumn, depending on your rising and your moon sign, if you have Earth in there, you're probably going to get along with it a lot better.
All air. Why the mouth never stops.
Well, you've learned to work with it well then.
Yeah. My rising is Gemini and my moon is Libra. Wait, which one is the one people assume that you are originally?
Rising.
So that is Libra. Yes, because I remembered it because that one is the one that I share with my father. He's a Libra.
I actually just pulled up my star chart. So I'm a Gemini Sun, rising Libra, moon Taurus.
That I believe with the moon with Taurus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you do carry a lot of Taurus energy.
I'm very bullheaded. What can I say?
That wasn't what I meant.
Yeah, no. Now I'm definitely going to have to come down to your shop.
Well, she's in Prescott. So
hey, I'm fine with that. After everything simmers down a bit, I'll be traveling a little bit more because I have to get out there. But
Heck yeah. Well, what's funny is we haven't really slowed down. We've got a lot of small classes that we do. They're not very big classes. And usually the classes I do, it's a kind of a pod of people. I feel like the way that we're headed is pods, you have your pod of people you're comfortable being around. And people have been coming to class in pods. So I'll have a class of 6. They all know each other. They all hang out. They have lunch all the time. Maybe they're coworkers or their family that live under one roof. And they all come to class at one time. And they're excited to learn something together and spend time together, get the heck out of the house. And, it's really kind of cool. So, I mean, I feel like we're all feeling a little bit safer in small groups. And that's really what we've still been able to offer for people.
Yeah.
I think
also the classes have transitioned to online quite seamlessly. I was really terrified of doing online classes, but I'll tell you what, now that I've finally taken the leap and done it, I'm so not scared of it anymore. I'm getting to connect with people who are everywhere, all over the place, and it's so great.
Yeah, I was really afraid of doing the podcast on virtual. And we had a couple of guests, including Marcos, that drove down to record with us in studio. And then all of a sudden COVID hit. And it was like, you either lose the pod or you transition to this. And it's worked out really well. Even today, when you said that all you had was the phone, I was like, oh no, guys, what do we do? And they were like, no, we have this solution. I was like, I love you guys. I'm so appreciative of Talok just having all this knowledge about technology and Jera being able to handle it when I'm like, I'm lost.
Well, I'm a natural grounder, and I can reach through technology because I'm a little bit of a technopath too.
Well, especially with Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. The Mercury retrograde's kicking my butt right now.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I did notice, though, is that when we do our in-person meditations and I have like a hybrid class going, I can't record that on Zoom because if I do and we're doing the meditation piece, the energy moving in the room messes up our Zoom feed. So I've found that if I'm going to offer a class in-person hybrid, I record it separately on a different day and just offer Zoom only for it. And then in-person hybrid, it's streamed. And if they miss the meditation part, they can get it back with, like the recorded part later. But that's been a challenge, moving energy in the room and then Zoom actually being able to pick up and not get messed up. I was really surprised. Like I'm thinking maybe Faraday cage for the recording. I'm not sure, but
that would be pretty interesting. But I don't think Faraday would work very well, especially energies of that magnitude.
Right.
I'm not surprised, actually. Well, we want to thank you so much, Kharma, for coming on, being available for us at such short notice.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, before we head out, I want to thank a couple of our newest Patreon supporters. Cody, thank you for returning as a Patreon supporter. This person gave me a pronunciation of their name. Chana, thank you for supporting. And Sophie, thank you for supporting us with Patreon. Our next exclusive Patreon episode will be up on the 24th.
24th, yeah.
24th on Patreon. So, and Kharma, if they wanted to get to know you virtually or in person, where can they find you?
So they can find me at Collective Alchemies. That's our store in Prescott, Arizona. And we have a website, just www.collectivealchemies.com. You can also reach me at Dark Moon Ranch, which is where I live. Our ranch actually has its own page because we do spells and we do daily readings. And so that one is darkmoonranch.com. You can catch me the first weekend of every month here in Tempe, Arizona at Everything Just Rocks. I love to come down here. My sister's store is Everything Just Rocks, and Athena offers some amazing classes. So if people do want to learn crystal gridding, I'm going to have an online crystal grid class that is launching in March. You can take that online. So there's going to be an intro and a sacred geometry class, as well as kind of a crystal grid, 201 that's going to follow in April. But that's online. And Athena offers in-person crystal grid classes here in Tempe. We've put a pause to our in-person crystal grid at the store, but you can come up and see me and play with the rocks, and that's okay too.
All right. And I believe you have an active community up there as well. Is there a way to connect with them?
Absolutely. So check out paganperspectives.org, or you can go on Facebook, Pagan Perspectives. In fact, Pagan Perspectives, Dark Moon Ranch, and Collective Alchemies all have Facebook pages. And you can check out our pagans going on. We're looking at possibly doing some, like I said, pod-style retreats to where people can come up and do some small retreats. We also have had a lot of people voice that they would love to come up, do a pod retreat, but then also be able to take that same pod of people out for like a tour of Sedona or a tour of the vortexes here in like the northern Arizona area. So we actually have partnered up with a couple of different people that are going to be offering those as well. So if you want to beat the heat this summer and come up out of the valley, we have some partners up here, Juniper Well Ranch being one. Autumn, I know you've been there. And we're looking at bringing pods of people up into the big Manzanita Manor house to where, up to 10 people in their pod can come and they can stay, and we can offer classes there for them, to where they don't have to go out and be in a big group of people.
Nice.
And for our longtime listeners' references, if you listened to our episodes where we referenced our summer and solstice and camping experiences, mine was with Kharma and at Juniper Well Ranch and with the Pagan Perspectives. So that way you guys have a reference to connect.
I promise we have dialed in the lemonade by now.
Oh my goodness.
That was definitely a story that was told on here.
Oh, that lemonade. Oh, I kind of forgot about that.
That is a story that will live forever in infamy.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I kind of forgot about that. But the moment you said the lemonade, the picture of him holding that jar of lemon. Oh, goodness. So like every now and then he's like, I put more water in it. And I'd sip it and I'm like, no, you didn't. You lied to me. Why are you doing this to me? Oh, and the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Jera, where can they find you on the internet while I lament my whole entire summer experience?
Well, of course, I am on Instagram under Hagrid Cosplay. I'm also on Twitter under @JeraStone. And of course, on TikTok, you can find me as AZ Silent Bob. And YouTube, Hagrid. I'm doing a video a day for the entirety of 2021. Join me on my weight loss journey, which I can say I weighed myself today, and I am down about 20 pounds since the beginning of the year.
Yay!
So
Congratulations.
I'm having some good times with that.
Yay!
And you know what? We talked about drumming. I'm going to throw it out there. I've been doing drum birthing. Oh my gosh, can't talk. Drum birthings, where you make your own.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we take you through a shamanic journey, connect you with your herbs, your elements, stones, the hides themselves, and then you actually string your own heartstrings and sing your song into the heartstrings, and you create your own drum medicine.
Wow.
Ooh.
That sounds really cool.
I may take you up on that.
Super powerful stuff. You create your own.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot. Yep. So you can find me, Autumn Wolf, on Facebook and on Twitter. You can find my blog as Iron Wolf Circle on WordPress. I actually just had a thought of what my next post is going to be about, so maybe there's going to be something new someday. And you can find Millennial Pagan Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Instagram at Pagan Pod, just as a tease. Anybody who already follows it just saw my birthday altar, and anybody who hasn't, go look at that. We're going to try and post more of our altars, aka Jera, start taking pictures.
I've actually got the start of a new one because I'm finally diving into a new deity, and he's been calling to me from afar for a while. So I actually just went to our friend Jane's store to order a Hades statue.
Ooh,
so
all right, we'll have to talk about Hades later then.
Oh yes.
And get and see your new Hades altar. All right, well, so thank you everyone for listening and for Patreon supporting. I'm sure during the break you heard all about how to be a Patreon supporter. And
of course, everybody wish Miss Autumn a happy birthday. It's going to be this weekend on the 13th.
Thank you.
And I always love doing this. This is your birthday song. It's not very long.
Well, thank you. I like a nice short birthday song. Everybody stop staring at me kind of thing.
Oh, she's turning about as red as my hair.
No, my hair.
It's almost there.
Gotcha. All right. So, merry meet.
Merry part. And merry meet again.
At least you said meat this time.
I did. I can't have meat. There's too much sugar.